No, society's not flawed. Women are flawed. All the flaws of society that someone would say are flaws of society are flaws of women specifically.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a femoid.
I am. I'm a fembot, actually.
Fembot. Is that another one of the lingos?
That's another one of the words, yeah. Female humanoid organism.
Wow.
Yeah.
Female humanoid organism.
Or something. Yeah, it's like FHO or... Yeah, it's FHO.
Fembot, they must have that's from that Austin Powers movie. I remember that.
Maybe. I don't... I feel like feel like some of it must come from like sci-fi or something. They see themselves as like the defenders of.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are nerds, right? They're just like the bad nerds, like the actual weird.
The weird creepy nerds, like the school shoot up.
Yeah.
Nerds. Yeah,
right.
they're yeah, like I just opened the subreddit because I wanted some material, and like I found Black Ops Cell. Because they how they have this thing, that's like the word I see. I haven't opened the thread, but they have like this thing where they list the reason that they think they can't get laid, and then they put cell at the end of it, like wrist cell or curry cell, because a lot of them are like self-hating brown people. Some of them are, they call themselves curry cells. Wow. And there's borscht cell. He's one of the like authorities of some, like there's like a, I don't actually use Reddit that much, I just come there for material.
What does borscht cell mean?
I'm assuming it's like a Slav cell. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Okay, so there's all types of incels
all over the world, man.
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
And they found a community. They found each other.
Yeah.
All brought together under the common interest of hating women.
Yeah. Against all odds, they found each other.
Wow.
Over Reddit.
This is almost like one of those feel-good stories where you could watch if they made a movie about it, and just one of those you'd cry at the end, you know?
I mean, I do feel a little bit happy for them, because like now we know who they've come up with a label for themselves. They're so much easier to find. They're really into the MGTOW, like men going their own way or whatever, like that stuff.
Men going their own way.
Yeah. It's like, women depend on us too much. So I'm not gonna hold the doors open for women or what. It's I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well, don't they see like how some of that like benevolent sexism is also something that feminists don't? That's the same thing you hear.
They don't.
Feminists.
They don't think like that. That's not something that because they hate women. You gotta.
They just hate them. Period.
You gotta think like any flaw in humanity is a flaw of women specifically. Like vanity or promiscuity. That's only women do that, obviously.
These are things that have been perpetuated by women.
Yeah.
And they're hurting society.
Yeah, but it's only because women do them.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. No, Chads are fine, but Stacy's, mm-mm.
So what is a Chad? Explain what a Chad is.
A Chad, how do I explain it? Like one of the popular memes that came out of the incel subreddit was the only difference between an incel and a Chad is a few millimeters of bone, because like they think that not having a chin keeps you from getting laid somehow, and like having a jawline is how you get women to want to have sex with you, I guess.
Wow, so they went in really deep with this.
Oh yes, oh yeah. There's tons of pictures of like chadification where like bimboification, but like for incels, I guess. Where they just take pictures of like chinless people and they like shop chins and like define brow bones onto them, because the only difference between a Chad and an incel is a few millimeters of bone.
But so they aspire to be Chads. They want to be Chads.
I don't really know. There is a prevailing narrative, obviously, because they have like this uniform jargon that they use, but they refer to themselves as black-pilled. Like, do you know what that is?
Yeah, black-pilled versus red-pilled. kind of thing. Yeah.
So no, it's like fuck women altogether. Like
Yeah.
there's stories, and like sometimes they're trolls, but I think at least some of the time they have to be real, where they tell stories about women like seemingly wanting to have sex with them, and they're like, why did the femoids humiliate us so?
Oh man.
They cock-block themselves.
Yeah, there's no winning with them, it sounds like.
Yeah, they just the male condition is like torturous.
The male condition is torturous, and
I'm sure. I'm not about to deny that. You know,
well,
I don't know.
It's not entirely. I mean, it's not all fucking.
I think the human condition
rainbows.
is torturous, so
Exactly. Yeah, but
it would make sense if the male condition was as well, wouldn't it?
Well, right, but I mean, just I would agree that if the gender roles that have been bestowed upon each and every gender, mostly binary ones that we're talking about here. When you talk about in terms of gender roles, we've only established the ones between men and women so far. We don't have Zim gender roles yet, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it does suck sometimes. But I think there's a way to turn these people, these incels. It sounds like it'd be pretty easy to sell them on feminism if they weren't so stubborn about, because a lot of things that they seem to be bothered by. I mean, I don't know what they want. What are they wanting? What are they asking for?
I don't know, because it seems like they want to have sex, right? Because the term means involuntarily celibate. But like they hate women so much that like their entire existence seems to be self-cock-blocking. So I don't know what they want really. They have a very strict, like very narrow idea of what a perfect woman is. It's a blonde, preferably blonde, like chaste virgin, and they're a big fan of like the number system, like the out of 10 thing. Like they'll be like, I saw a 7 FHO or whatever. So
they really the number thing is applied often.
Often I see it around quite a lot.
Yeah, this sounds like just the worst example of every dude would ever meet anywhere. It's just the worst. It's why people hate men, because of these people.
I almost like, I feel bad. Like I look at it and I feel like you're using all this weird jargon like to make sense of the world. It feels like they're children or something. Like I remember making up words for shit when I was a kid.
I consider subreddits like the dark web. It feels like anything that's not Google or Facebook or YouTube, it's the dark web to me. So a Chad is just a name you give to somebody, like when you say a Becky.
Strictly speaking, it's a man who has sex, but they're also like this pinnacle of masculinity. They're the absolute pussy destroyer, and crucial to being a Chad, it seems, is also not respecting women, because like they play into the nice guy thing a little bit. So they're the ones, they're saying we respect you, but you don't respect yourselves. Yeah,
kind of thing.
So you fuck Chads, I guess. Okay. And they, I was reading a thread recently, and it's like, even if you get a girlfriend, you know, your struggle isn't over. How do you keep her mind off of Chad?
Oh, Jesus.
Yes,
This sounds just like...
Because the only thing women want is Chad.
Dude.
Or the only thing Stacy's want, rather.
Okay, so there's some obvious like insecurity. One of the I guess one of my favorite memes that you showed me from these incels it was like a really attractive man peeking in at a woman at work and saying, "Hey, you look great today," and she goes, "Oh, thanks." And then it was like this gross looking guy, and he goes, "Hey, you look great today," and then she goes, "Oh, human resources, like I need help," like. I guess that was a Chad, so it's okay if Chad compliments her, but not okay. So, and I thought really, I mean, there's some depth behind that, because there's some obvious truth, but it's not like that makes anybody bad. It doesn't make...
It's not a mystery that it's more flattering to know that good-looking people want to have sex with you.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a mystery to anyone.
How do you think the fucking world works?
Another big thing with them is that female incels don't exist. They don't. And every woman can get sex, because there's always some guy out there who'll fuck a girl. But women are these ones with these ridiculously high standards. Like, only women have ridiculously high standards. Never men.
Who are they? Are they blaming...
The women.
Yeah, always.
Everything's the women's fault.
Always the women, yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have sex readily available for you if you're a man or a woman.
It's not a bad thing at all. I would, as long as you have discretion.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of their zingers are coming from places that they just feel hurt by. Their feelings are hurt, basically, is what it comes down to.
They are so hurt.
They're feeling, yeah.
It's a tortured existence, the incel existence.
I didn't know there was a community until you exposed me to incels, and there's a whole web network of these fine young men.
And many groups dedicated to spying on them. And there's like Legend of Chad, Ocarina of Games is a big group that you can go to see the Chad memes. So like the opposite of a Chad is a virgin, which is why like Chad, even though it means like a guy who has sex, they have like the specific idea of like a dude with a protruding like Stan Smith style jawline and like a quiff in his hair and a muscle tee.
Oh yeah, I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen Chad. Their depiction of Chad. So it's just basically So it's also they're playing into this other thing going on. This kind of like destruction of traditional attractiveness. That if you are traditionally attractive, you are suspect to be a bad person or something, or like. I
guess you're vain because you have high standards that they don't meet, or standards that are high because they don't meet them. Rather. Yeah,
right. How many? I don't know. There's so much going on. I just feel like there's so much to understanding why these people exist, and I found it to be so interesting because I do think that speaks a lot to humanity, like how everyone feels about themselves, even physically, like how good you actually truthfully feel about yourself really determines like how you're going to treat people in your world. And so it is like, I don't know, if people are like underfucked and feel ugly, then they act accordingly. They're just shitty people. I really believe that like actually feeling good about yourself and having good sex all the time will fucking save the planet. I really think it sounds like a joke, but like I really think that's really.
Well, I'd have to agree there. I hear some things like they're really hard to have pity for because they're such honestly violent misogynists. Like when you get right down to it, Elliot Rodger, that kid who slaughtered the sorority girls a couple years ago,
yeah.
He's like peak incel.
Oh, he fit the profile exactly.
Perfectly, absolutely. Yeah. And he's literally like he did things that are black pilly, like killing people. I find it very hard to pity them because I think the end of their thought process could be violence.
Yeah, no, totally. I really think that you'll find that in a lot of like violent attackers' profiles, this hatred for this envy and hatred and blame of the people in their environment.
But it's hard not to feel bad when I hear they'll describe their lives, and they'll refer to themselves sometimes as like subhuman.
They'll refer to themselves.
Yes, because they're so ugly or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, they genuinely feel that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say that they're like afraid to go outside, that they don't want women to see them because they feel their judgment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I'm really sorry you feel that way.
Yeah. It's a problem, and I think there's so many like dimensions that go into this. Like, what is it that makes somebody so? I mean, ugly inside and out. Like how do you get there? Like how it's one, and you have to like consider like what is it? Is it just like our consumer culture and like the fucking bad food that we're throwing at people? And I think all of this has a tremendous effect on obviously your appearance and your like mental state. And I don't know, like I wonder what I would say to a dude if we had an incel sitting in here right now. What would you if you had to try to fix him in 2 sentences? What would you say?
Oh man, I have no idea. Because there's nothing I could say that could have any ounce of value to a person like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just a femoid trying to humiliate them at the end of the day.
It feels that way, yeah.
What would you have to say as a Chad? As someone who's definitely a Chad?
I don't know. I feel like those people need to be reinforced is all. I would try to reinforce the positive, because they're almost like so self-deprecating that I would try to remind them that they are worth something in kind of a casual way, because it's the only thing that gets through. If you sound like you're just being too charitable,
like, hey buddy, hey champ.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. It would depend on the person. I don't know. Let's say if there's like an incel.
Well, they tell you that you don't know the struggle.
Well, first you have to try to relate to them on something, for them to open up and gain your trust, because they've alienated themselves so far.
They live on a different planet.
Yeah.
Their views have no correlation with reality.
That's literally I feel like one of the biggest dangers in the world are people with that thought process. It is kind of funny, but it's also like there's some dark truth going on there.
They can become dangerous. Like,
Yeah.
One of the threads that I looked through the most diligently was one where they often talk about realizing that their mothers are whores. That's something that they mention a lot. I saw one where a guy had realized that his mom was a Stacy because or a whore because his parents took a month off before they got married.
Oh no.
And so like he could do whatever he wanted in that month, obviously, but her, if she fucked anyone else, oh man, she's the dirtiest, she's the lowest of the low, because his pure-hearted, like, non-Chad dad was getting betrayed.
Non-Chad dad.
Yeah, it's weird because people who don't look like Chad obviously still get laid. So,
right.
what?
You just I mean, if you don't look like Chad, you can't. What's a female version of Chad?
Stacy.
Okay, Stacy.
Stacy's a woman that has sex, and she's a vapid bitch who can't keep her mind off of Chad.
That she's like probably really attractive, right, Stacy?
Supposedly, I think so.
Well, if you're Chad and Stacy belong with each other. But,
of course.
If you look like, I don't know, if you look like an incel, then you're gonna get Gertrude. You're gonna get. You don't get Stacy, dude. Sorry, you don't deserve. You don't. Stacy doesn't owe you sex, my man. Like, here's what's even darker. We see them all the time. We see like cute couples walking, and it's like satisfying.
Yeah.
Because some people just look so good together, and they're so into this number system apparently.
Yeah. Such a big thing with them. Like, attractiveness is just not subjective, I guess. Like, in order for their world to function, like, attractiveness has to be absolutely subjective, because no one can find them attractive.
Yeah, and even if they were to put themselves on this number system, and let's say that they have determined that, like, let's say there's an incel and he decides he's a 3. But here's the thing, even if you found the, like, female equivalents of all of these incels, they all would hate each other.
Well,
like,
they also threaten each other's feelings of inferiority.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Because they have massive inferiority complexes.
And this is another thing that I find that, like, people who do oftentimes fit the like classic archetype of a stereotypical attractive person, I have to say they're always the nicest people I've ever interacted with. Not always,
yeah,
but oftentimes. And
I'd have to say so as well. Most attractive people I know have been very sweet.
They're sweet. There's no like chip on their shoulder. There's no like grudge. They're just okay. And a lot of times people who aren't okay, there's a lot of self-hatred going on, and they project hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced that. I've experienced more bullying as an adult.
Oh, your confidence definitely garners you some hatred, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's weird. Anybody's confidence does.
Like, self-deprecation is how you win other people's confidence nowadays.
Yeah, and I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it, because it used to be, I don't value that. People who feel good about themselves are really good at making you feel good too, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, we tend to think of like confident people as being arrogant, and that's not the case. I don't think. I'd say you're pretty confident. You're not arrogant though.
Come on, I have my shy moments. I definitely do.
Oh, sure, shy, but so do I. Just because we talk a lot doesn't mean we're not shy.
Yeah.
I'm shy.
I talk a lot at my shyest. The mouth starts running when the anxiety gets high.
You become a motor mouth when
it's bad.
The anxiety turns into like more motor mouth. Yeah. So maybe this is like what incels need to hear, that even beautiful people struggle with their imperfections, and
all the time. I wonder if incels go on Tinder. I think I saw actually something about Tinder on the subreddit recently, and they hate Tinder because it appeals to the vanity of women, I guess. It's all about women.
Yeah,
supposedly.
it's if you want it to be, dude, fine. But if you want to like look good and get your shit together, it can be about men too. I feel like I don't feel like they're ever on dating sites. I feel like incels are the same people who try to be catfishers. Still, they must be like.
Maybe. I don't think they tried that hard to get female attention. Like, they want it. Like, obviously they think it's such a big deal that they're not having sex, but it seems like they don't want it.
It's not something they're actually striving for. It's almost like a defeatist attitude they've taken.
Absolutely. I mean, once you're giving yourself the label of incel, you're really committing to it, aren't you?
Now you've just boxed yourself into this idea that women don't like me and women are awful because they don't like me. That's basically what it is to be an incel.
And women can't like you. It's just not possible.
Yeah. Because society is flawed. Because they're flawed. And you're...
No, society's not flawed. Women are flawed. All the flaws of society that someone would say are flaws of society are flaws of women, specifically.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. They hate it when women cheat. Like, women cheating is the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing we can do, is make men feel sexually inadequate, I guess. It's because of things that they can't change. It has to be things that they can't change.
So they're almost like they view themselves as like an oppressed group, as a collective.
Absolutely.
Because they're in this circumstance that they had nothing to do with, but they're just without sex and
involuntarily. They're incels. I don't get to see their faces or anything.
Yeah, I feel like they're the ones who have like their profile pictures on whatever like subreddit or wherever. It's just like a
lollies. I bet they love lollies.
Lolly, what's that mean?
Oh man. Okay. So in hentai, or I think maybe just in anime in general, like a lolly is like a young girl. Shota is like young boys, and so like porn, like hentai featuring young girls, like Japanese nymphets, is lolicon. And
yeah, okay.
So it's
lolly.
Cartoon
lolly.
Child porn is what it is.
I see. I didn't know that was called lolly.
Lolicon, yeah. Because it's like Lolita.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, damn. So they're all into that shit.
You do see some weird stuff. Like, you see things that, like, hint a little bit at necrophilia. You see a lot of stuff that hints at pedophilia. And it's like, damn, well then, maybe I should be happy that you're an incel, because neither of those things sound good for society.
Yeah. Well, but they're not good for society either.
Yeah.
Having these...
they're pretty bad for society.
Because you can go from a harmless troll to doing some crazy shit.
Yeah. Like, the only incel that we've ever really seen the face of is, like, Elliot Rodger.
Well,
and he's not even a bad-looking dude. He just had the world's shittiest personality.
Who knows? You could probably say the same thing about countless individuals who've done...
They can't all be ugly.
Well, it's not just about that. It's just about self-hatred kind of thing. And obviously, being...
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Well, right. Well, that is...
They can't all be ugly, but I think they all think that they are.
Right. It's all about how you feel. It's about how you actually feel. That's why, like, I think body positivity is great, but I want to know that when it comes to that shit, I want to know that the positivity I have for different people and body types, they actually believe for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how often that's really true. I really don't know. Because you could say it all you want.
Body positivity is like the effort to attain body positivity. Yeah. Like, through taking pictures of yourself is like one way to, and they say another way to help with body dysphoria is to, like, spend a lot of time naked or stuff like that, like to actually become comfortable in your skin. Yeah. Because if you hate your body, you kind of cover it up with stuff. And I feel like working on your perception of it is the I think that's important. Almost more important. Yeah, it's definitely more important. That's the most important part. But I want to know that
perception is actually true when I hear people say, like, I love my body, I don't have to look like this or that. Well, no, you don't, but like, I want you to believe what you're saying. Like, you have to, once you make the claim that you're comfortable in your body, then at that moment you have to stop envying people who look differently.
Yeah.
Because why would you then, if you're actually comfortable?
I understand what you're saying there. Yeah.
Oh, I think incels are a problem with me when I think about sex work, because I think these types of men inevitably become they're the patronizers of sex workers.
Yeah, at least some of them. Some of them would be like, fuck those roasties, of course, but
maybe, yeah. But
it depends on like whether or not they actually want sex.
Well, they do eventually. I mean, I'm sure they do. They don't want it they don't want consensual sex that you don't pay for, because it's impossible to obtain. So why would I keep wanting something that I know I'm never going to get? Mm-hmm. But eventually, yeah, you're going to want to have sex, and you're going to hire a prostitute, and then that's where I struggle. I run into a wall a little bit with prostitution, because I do think there has been some like glorifying of Johns and stuff to be these like businessmen, these just fine gentlemen who are just busy businessmen who don't have time for relationships, so they hire prostitutes, and that's not the case. That really isn't the case. They're fucking weird dudes. When a person like that seeks out a sex worker, they're almost reaffirming their belief of women that it's bad and they're bad.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe they seek it out because it doesn't challenge any of the perceptions they have either. Like, they'll talk about fucking children or dead women or something like that. Like, and I think it's just because, dead chicks or children are completely passive, and like someone you're paying is at least not challenging you in that way.
Yeah, you feel probably more safe.
Yeah.
And this is what I've seen like documentaries I've read about sex work, and these are confessions of a lot of Johns and stuff. They say, like, I just feel more comfortable this way. And I don't know how much I'm ready to sit back and root that on. It just doesn't seem like something I'm ready to be completely okay with. So I it's not to shame sex workers, but it is something. It's another dimension of sex work to think about.
Sex workers, I don't have a problem with. It's the patronizers of sex work that make me more than a little bit uncomfortable, because they seem to obviously not have a lot of regard for women.
They really don't oftentimes, and I just don't. I think of a man who's like, even if you are a Chad, let's say you're just some like frat boy guy or whatever, you're a trust fund kid, and you have been getting laid, you've been treating women like shit most of your life, and you're in Las Vegas, and then you're like, well, I'm just gonna buy some pussy today, and like, this is just how you keep this is how you interact with women all the time, and I don't want to like make it easier for those people to do that. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's just something to consider, as all.
I think it's worth being uncomfortable with, but at the end of the day, making sex work illegal only hurts sex workers.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it should be illegal. It should be that it's so weird to criminalize people to do that. But incels,
I feel bad because like I can't root for them because they want awful things. And like, they're not going to treat women well, even though they seem to think that they will.
I think a lot of people who have murderous thoughts have the same feelings that an incel would. Mm-hmm. I think like Kim Jong-il, however say his name, that guy, he's probably an incel in his heart.
Who?
The North Korean dictator.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-un, yeah, is the one who's currently like. Oh man.
Yeah, he's
he's an incel, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, his wife is a dime, but like.
Yeah, but he knows in his heart that why his wife is even his wife, and so does like Donald Trump. He knows like why his wife is even his wife. Like, they know in their heart.
They have to.
And
there's no way they thought that they got that on their own merits.
Yeah. So like, yeah, man, I just think these are the most dangerous people that the earth has ever known. Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the tendency. I tend to find evidence of sexually deviant, and I don't mean in the fun way, I mean in the scary way, like sexually deviant behavior.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. Like, do they feel the need to resort to this, or are they incels because they're pedophiles or necrophiles or whatever? And you'll see things like some really obvious incesty things, like My sisters won't free me from inceldom. I hope that was a troll. Every day I pray that was a troll.
My sisters meaning like women in the world, or his
No,
actual sisters?
His actual sisters.
What did he mean by that exactly? I don't know.
Well, being freed from inceldom means having sex.
Oh, like so if he were to be able to fuck one of his sisters.
Yeah, that would be better than being a virgin.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Well, fucking a dead person is better than being a virgin to some of these people.
Yeah.
My favorite one, because I think I can even recite it, is I had to have sent this one to you. Is having a daughter the ultimate cuckoldry?
What,
I want you to think about the thought process that could exist behind that sentence, just for a second.
Because you're basically just sitting idly by while all these men try to fuck your daughter.
You're raising this girl and giving her everything solely so she can be ravaged by other men. Like, that's actually a line.
Damn, dude.
Like, that's insane. That's incestuously possessive of your daughter's virginity to a T. Like, to the point where you can see the incest.
I think this is just really just amplified old world views anyway.
Oh yeah,
Incels.
definitely.
So it's not like a new, like, weird, deviant thing. It's just like old world views that many people have had. This is just to a higher degree. It's like the same like when you hear about like a man like joke about like, well, first date she has from a guy, you know, when he comes ring the doorbell, I'm answering the door with a shotgun. Like, why, dude? What's your problem? Why would you do that? I've heard like good old boys say shit like that. Like they're gonna be really super. It really is like incestuous possession of your daughter's sexuality.
Yeah, and you remember that cab driver we had, the pastor, who said that God punishes womanizers by giving them daughters because there's this sudden fear that your mistreatment of women will be done to your daughter, and like now you care.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Because your masculinity is tied into how your daughter is treated.
Yeah, and the way he said that, it was like we were supposed to assume it to be like this noble thing for him to like, well, he's got daughters and he understands like the pain that people want to have sex with his daughter. Like, dude, that's basically what you're saying.
That's weird. Please don't say that.
Yeah, man, and you're a pastor. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Well, it's no surprise that someone like a vehement subscriber to Christianity would have some fucked up ideas about sex. That's kind of like that's a thing.
It's a thing
with religious people.
Yeah, I'm not going to allow that to make me hate religious people the way some people do.
Yeah,
but I do. That's something I've always
I think it's worth acknowledging the amount of damage they can do with it.
Yeah, I have
the amount of damage they have done with it historically.
Totally, you know, I've got my eye on people like that always, but I don't want to just always arrive to the conclusion that they're sexually repressed and weird, and because that's not the case always. I know that for a fact, but religion has done some damage that way. Well, thanks for talking about incels with me and sharing your deep knowledge of inceldom.
This is only the tip of the iceberg.
I know. I feel like I'm gonna have to take a deeper dive and really get to the nitty gritty.
You're gonna have to, crack open some cold ones before you can take that psychologically.
Yeah, honestly, talking about this gives me the same feeling that I get like when there's been like when I like made a dish and I like made some food and I kept it in the fridge for like months and months, and I know I gotta like clean out the Tupperware, and I know it's gonna be fucking, I don't want to open it, I know it's gonna be dirty, it's just been sitting there, it's been there, but I gotta like, that's how I feel talking about this.
They are the gross Tupperware of society.
Yeah, totally.
They're all of our old world views that have festered.
Yeah, there's just mold
inside the fridge of Reddit.
You heard some songs today. One of them was called Opium, another one called Circle. Both found on the VHS beat tape by an artist who goes by Hub, capital H-U-B. I think if you just type in VHS beat tape at bandcamp.com, it'll come up. Did you like what you heard today? Did you dislike something? Email Neon Voices, neonvoicespod@gmail.com. We like to keep the conversation going. We're always open to learning and growing. The doors are always open and the mics are always hot.
One day you'll